welcome to my new video about staving off boredom in the COVID epidemic. What I'm doing today is making 36 balls for my solitaire table that I made some time ago, and plan to use marbles, but instead of using marbles I'm using wooden spheres. I start off by mounting a piece of branchwood in my O'Donnell jaws and roughing it down to approximately 3.5 centimeters in diameter, slightly larger than that. The lathe appears to be going slowly because of the effect of the strobe effect of my fluorescent lighting. Just trimming off the end so it's dead flat. And now I'll mark out 3.5 centimeter cylinders and probably get 3 balls out of this. Having marked the 3.5, then mark the midpoint, because that will be the apex of the curve, and it makes it easy to make equal curves on either side of the sphere. Just part away some of the waste on the other side of the sphere to give you room for your tool to move as you create the sphere. Creating the sphere is not too difficult by eye, but if you have any doubts, leave it slightly too rounded rather than overdoing it. Cut away from the midline towards the center of the blank, gradually taking away to make a nice smooth curve. A curve with an arc that's slightly bigger than the overall sphere that you want to finish with. Just carving away some of the other side of the sphere, and it's beginning to look recognisably like something that is approaching spherical. I leave quite a lot of wood on the tailstock side to keep it rigid, and as the sphere forms I cut away more, which decreases the rigidity slightly, but with the ball held in place by a tailstock it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Once you've got something that looks pretty much like a sphere, you then bring into play my special sphere making tool. This tool is made with a hole saw with the teeth ground away to a approximately 42-degree angle as you would on a gouge, and just rotate it and wiggle it from side to side. Usually I do this until the middle marking disappears. I then know that I am down to pretty much the size of ball that I want to finish with, and I get the same size ball each time. You get a surprisingly good finish from that. Now you can apply some finish at this stage, but I do it at a later stage. Just trimming off the nib on the end of the ball. I'm using the side of the gouge, which is a good way just to take very fine shavings. Once you've cleaned up the tailstock end, just part it off with a very sharp parting tool. Put it aside for later finishing. I got another 3 balls out of this piece, and I won't bore you with side of making because it's exactly the same process. Once the balls have been roughed out, I put a jam chuck into the tailstock, and this jam chuck is hemispherical curve inside, and it is slightly narrower than the final diameter of the ball. Push the ball firmly into the jam chuck and it should sit there quite nicely. I recommend using really sharp tools, because if you don't, you'll find the ball will fly out and end up in the most inaccessible place in your workshop. There you go. What did I tell you? Once you've cleaned up one end, reverse it, put it back in the jam chuck and clean up the other end. I'm also tidying up where I think the sphere is not quite round enough. This is a judgment by eye, and I'm using the side of the gouge as a scraper. I put the ball through another 180 degrees, tidied it up again. Now I'll sand it off. Turn the ball through 90 degrees and just check for the integrity of the sphere. You may need to scrape it off a bit, as I'm doing here, scrape or cut. Take the ball out in a minute and put it through another 90 degrees to do the other side, and by the time you've finished you should have as close to a sphere as you possibly can. At this stage I'm confident enough to do some sanding. Here we are, putting it through the other 90 degrees, tidying it up again. You can feel the ball with your fingers if you've got any doubt, and you'll feel the ridges of the spheres that are not quite true. Once you're 100% happy with the shape of the sphere, you can then sand it off. And I do this through using 180 through 400 grit sandpaper. I'll turn it through 90 degrees several times. It helps make sure that it's perfectly spherical. And And there you have it, as close to a sphere as I can get, mostly by eye. It's only roughly sanded at this stage. I leave the final polishing until I've completed all the balls. I'll just show the process one more time. For the final polishing process, the balls are reinserted into the jam chuck, sanded down from 180 to 400, and then I use friction polish to give them a nice shine. I'll turn it through 180 degrees to start off with, then 90 degrees a couple of times to make sure that there's no streaking of the polish. Final polishing is done with a soft rag. And sometimes it helps to use the rag to take it out of the chuck. And there you have it, a nice shiny ball fit to go on the solitaire table. And here's the finished result with all 36 balls completed, all exactly the same size to within half a millimetre.